Raise your hand if this sounds familiar. You wait for motivation to hit you before you start working out, writing that report, or building your side hustle. And when it doesn't come, you do nothing. Here's the brutal truth: motivation is a lie. It's unreliable, fleeting, and scientifically proven to be the worst way to build discipline, if at all. Today, I'm going to show you 4 simple ways that actually work, backed by neuroscience and real world research. The fourth one is my favorite. So, if you want to stop relying on motivation, you need to stay tuned. Hey, you! Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Actionables podcast. If you are tuning back in, thank you so much for being here. In case we haven't met before, my name is Peyton. I'm an NLP life coach and I share insights every week on this podcast that can help you work on your life goals without feeling unnecessarily stressed and overwhelmed. If this resonates with you, be sure to hit that follow button for weekly episodes. And with that, let's jump into this one. Now, let's start off by talking about why motivation fails. There is something called as the dopamine deception effect. Now, I know that sounds a lot. So let me break it down for you. Think about, what does it feel like when you feel motivated? Well, you may feel excited, you may feel expansive, and you may feel like anything is possible. But you know that this feeling rarely lasts. If what you're working on is going to take more time and effort, relying on this feeling of motivation isn't going to do you much good. Because motivation may feel great initially when it is there, but it disappears. And why does it disappear? Well, according to neuroscience, motivation is tied to dopamine, which is nothing but the reward chemical. Now, when you imagine a goal, let's say such as getting fit or making more money, your brain releases a chemical called dopamine that makes you feel excited. But here's a catch. Research from MIT University found that dopamine spikes before you take action, not after. This means motivation is at its highest when you think about your goals and take action, but it fades the moment you actually have to do the work. Now, it is the anticipation of the task that gives you the maximum dopamine effect that makes you feel good. Further research proves that people who rely on motivation alone were 3 times more likely to quit their goals within a month. And why does this happen? Because motivation is an emotion, and emotions, like you may know, are fleeting. Discipline, on the other hand, is a system, and you learn to download this system and apply it to your goals. And if you do that, you're going to get amazing results. This means that motivation isn't always reliable, and you can't depend on it to work on your goals. What can you do instead? Here is 4 things that you can do, which are simple and that can help you rely less on fleeting motivation, and instead you can use these to build your discipline levels. So let's get into the first one, which is called the 5-second rule. How do you make discipline a system for your goals? This is such an important question, because if you keep relying on motivation, which is unreliable, you are doing a huge disservice to yourself and to your goals. The answer is, you need to be able to hack your brain into taking action. And one way to do this is by following this 5-second rule made popular by the author Mel Robbins, and it is backed by neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman. And here's how it works. The moment you think of doing something that you are avoiding, let's say like working out or working on your side hustle, count down aloud backwards from and go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and physically move before your brain tries to talk you out of doing this action. Now, this 5-second rule works, and the reason it works is because hesitation activates your prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain which overthinks. So, counting interrupts the loop of reasons and excuses, and it triggers your prefrontal cortex, forcing you to take action. Now, another scientific research has found that people who use this method were 40% more likely to follow through on tasks that they'd normally procrastinate on. I have used this method to wake up at 4 a.m. for the last couple of years, and it's worked wonders. Every time you know that you've got to act on something, and maybe you aren't feeling motivated to do that, simply count backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then get moving on that task. The trick here is to not give your brain time to give you reasons to avoid the work. Just count and get moving on what needs to be done. The second thing which you can try out for yourself is called no zero days strategy. Now, the no zero days strategy is something that I have been using and I can swear by because it's really fun. The no zero days strategy is a concept which I initially learned from Reddit that went viral because it's scientifically effective. The rule is simple: never let a day pass without doing something towards your goal, even if it's something very small. For example, if you're working on getting healthier, do that one push up. If you want to publish your book, write that one sentence. Or maybe you're studying for a certification, study for 5 minutes. It is so much better than not doing anything. A University College London study found that habits form fastest when actions are repeatedly consistently, not when they are done perfectly. So if you're waiting for the perfect time, for the perfect place to start working on your goals, my friend, I hate to break it to you, or actually, I love to break it to you, that there is no such thing as a perfect time. Tiny actions keep the momentum going, and over time, your brain rewires itself to crave progress. So that's why the no zero days method works better than waiting for perfect motivation, because such a thing does not exist. Don't underestimate the power of taking small actions. It's much better to act small than to not act at all. Or, better said, it's better to act small than to think large and do nothing about it. Moving on to the third thing that you can try, which is called the Ulysses Pact. Now, here's a harsh truth: you're going to face distractions when you're working on something, no matter how important you say your goal is to you, which is why you need a Ulysses Pact. It is named after the Greek hero Odysseus, who came up with a plan to get through the sea creatures that were luring sailors and killing them. The story goes that he tied himself to the ship's mast to resist temptation of those sea creatures. Modern research calls this a sort of commitment device. A commitment device is something that supports your commitment towards your goal. For example, there was a research where it was found that people used money as a commitment device to stick with their goals. And these people were 3 times more successful than those relying on willpower or something else. Now, here are some examples how this commitment device can be used. Schedule workouts with a friend, and that way, if you skip, you are going to feel guilt. Use app blockers to remove distractions, such as the 1 second app when you're about to doom scroll. Or you could prep your gym clothes the night before, so that's the first thing you notice when you wake up. Create your commitment device that will get you to start and keep working on your goals. When your motivation dips, which is inevitable, having a commitment device will sustain your efforts. And the final one is called, and it's my favorite, the identity shift. Using this, you can rewire your self image. Have you noticed while you are working on your goals, most time you may use words such as I should do XYZ, I should work out, I should do that course, I should make more money. Even though what you're working on may be truly important to you, using words such as I should, it implies that as though someone is forcing you to do it. And you have to be careful here because your brain is already wired to stop you from doing what's new or difficult and necessary, even because your brain is not wired to essentially support you, and especially when you give it even more negative signals through your words, such as, I should do XYZ things. Let me share a quick example of what it means to make an identity shift. If someone were to ask you if you are a kind person, you may instinctively respond and say yes. You don't even have to think about it. This is because your identity there, it's natural, it's intuitive. So, what would the actions of a kind person be then? You're right, it would be to do kind things, correct? Now, if someone doesn't identify with being a kind person and is trying to be kind, they are essentially trying to do kind things which they don't identify with. It becomes difficult, it becomes hard for them. They may have a real hard time doing what a kind person naturally does. So, the point is identifying the traits of the person who's already achieved their goals. That is a much better strategy rather than if you're trying to become the person who's trying to achieve your goals. Now, there's a huge difference here because if you are just trying to do the things that needs to be done, you are somehow not integrated with the identity of the person who normally naturally takes those effortless actions. And those actions do become effortless because the actions are tied with the identity. So if you're working to be a healthier version of you, you can make the identity shift while working on your health goal. Next time you are low on motivation and you don't want to eat healthy or work out, you can remind yourself that, hey, what does a healthy person do? And the answer you will get back is, of course, they eat healthy and work out. That's a natural thing to do. They don't even need to try it because that's who they are. When you align your actions that are needed with the person who already does those actions naturally, you make it that much simpler for yourself to take the needed actions. Author Carol Dweck's research shows that identity shapes behavior. If you see yourself as a person who works out, skipping just feels wrong. If you're a writer, for example, you write even when you're uninspired. A Journal of Social Psychology study proved that people who tied habits to their identity, example, I am a runner, rather than I am trying to run, stuck to those goals of running 2 times longer than those who just set the goal of trying to run. So ask yourself, who do I need to become to reach my goals? Then act like that person before, even when you feel low on motivation. Motivation is a trap and it is temporary. It's not wise to depend on motivation to work on your goals. These ways can help build discipline with your efforts that will move you toward your goals. Now, I want to hear from you, which of these strategies will you try first? Comment below, and if this episode helped you, smash that like button and follow wherever you're listening to this, and I will see you in the next one. Now, before I leave you for this week, I want to quickly remind you that there are a few pro bono coaching slots still left in my calendar, so be sure to check that out in the description box below. If you want to sign up for a free coaching session with me, go ahead and book your slot. I'm excited to speak with you, and I will see you there. The link for that is mentioned in the description box below. Till next week, remember, you matter, your goals matter, and it's really up to you to make them happen. Take good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.